Good morning, my superstars. You are all welcome back to online class. Today's topic is foodborne diseases. Objectives. At the end of the class, you should be able to state the meaning of foodborne diseases, list the types of foodborne diseases, explain how to prevent foodborne diseases, and also you should be able to mention the signs of foodborne diseases. Foodborne diseases are diseases caused by the consumption of contaminated food. Foodborne diseases are diseases caused by the consumption of contaminated food. That is, if you eat any food that is not good, for example, if you eat any spoiled food or expired food, all those ones, they are contaminated. Types of foodborne diseases: food infection and food poisoning. Food infection are illnesses caused by consumption of pathogenic organisms along with the food. For example, salmonellosis. That is, if you eat any food that microorganisms are already existing or microorganism is already in the food, that is food infection. Food infection are illnesses caused by the consumption of pathogenic organisms along with the food. That is, if you eat any food that microorganisms are already existing in the food, that is food infection. And as a result of that, when you eat, after eating that food, after some hours later, because microorganisms are already in the food, that is, they are already existing in the food, and you've eaten the food, the pathogenic organisms will now infect the body. So this is when the pathogenic organisms infected the body system. After consumption, it causes illness. For example, if you look at the pictures on the screen, if you look at these pictures, you will notice that you can see some blackish color, whitish color on the food. Those are the signs of the spoiled food. And as a result of that, if you eat it mistakenly, because microorganisms, they are already existing on these food, if you eat it, it will now lead to food infection, which can cause illness to the body. And if you look at the other picture, if you look at this picture also, you can see this bacteria. If the bacteria infected this food that you're seeing on the screen, and mistakenly, if you eat this food, it can lead to food infection, which can cause illness to the body. Food poisoning are illnesses caused by consumption of poison or toxins secreted by microorganisms present in the food. For example, Staphylococcus species, Clostridium species, by chemicals. Example, mercury, lead, etc. When you talk about food poisoning, for example, you know, at times we may want to get rid of rats, and as a result of that, maybe your mom, when she's trying to get rid of those rats, she now tried to put the rat poisoning on the floor, and mistakenly this rat perched on the food after putting its mouth on the rat poisoning. This can cause a lot of problem to the family. It can ruin the whole family. That is why children, always ensure you cover your food. Never leave your food uncovered, because all these chemicals, they are not good for human consumption. So if these chemicals or microorganisms if they are present in the food and they are poison, if that food is consumed unknowingly to someone, it can lead to food poisoning. As a result of that, it can lead to death. That is why children, always ensure you cover your food, wash your plates, your cutlery. Always make sure you observe personal hygiene. And as you can see the picture on the screen, help prevent food poisoning. From the first picture, it says wash hands before and after preparing food. Cook meat, poultry, that is chicken, fish, and eggs thoroughly. Wash fruits and vegetables well before eating to prevent food poisoning. Signs of foodborne diseases. Signs of foodborne disease. These are the signs or the symptoms of foodborne diseases. Vomiting, intestinal pain, stomach upset, frequent stooling, nervous disorder, weakness, sometimes death. I've said it before. These are the signs of foodborne diseases. We should always ensure that we should abstain from eating expired food, spoiled food. We should also avoid eating food from doubtful sources. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control, NAFDAC. Children, take note of this, NAFDAC. It means National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control. Is the government body responsible for enforcing the law on foods and drugs manufacturing companies, on how to hygienically handle foods and drugs to prevent the consumers. Who are the consumers? We are the consumers, from purchasing contaminated food. That is, in our country, we have agency called NAFDAC, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control. They are in charge of enforcing law on food and drugs manufacturing companies, so that the people that are handling the food, they will ensure that they are free from any illness or from any sickness before handling food. And also the type of food they are using for manufacturing the food, including the environment. The food should be fresh. Even the environment should always be clean. These are the agency that is responsible for food and drug manufacturing companies to ensure they produce food that the consumers will buy, or will take food that are not contaminated. The Director General of NAFDAC is Professor Mojisola Christiana Adeyeye. The Director General of NAFDAC is Professor Mojisola Christiana Adeyeye. Prevention of foodborne diseases. Ensuring that leftover cooked foods are reheated before consumption. If you have any leftover cooked foods, always ensure that you freeze them. That is, you put them inside the freezer. And before you eat it, always ensure that you cook it properly before eating. Thorough washing of fruits before consumption. We should also ensure whenever you buy any fruit, make sure you rinse it. And most of us, we are fond of not rinsing the fruit. When you buy it, you start eating. You need to rinse them to prevent foodborne diseases. Maintaining good personal hygiene. Very, very important. We should always ensure we maintain good personal hygiene. Our kitchen, where we store our food, where we live. We should always ensure we practice hygiene, which is the act of cleanliness. Avoid consumption of expired food. Covering of food when not ready for consumption. Most of us that are fond of leaving our food uncovered, because you want to watch television, you will leave your food uncovered. Instead after serving your food, instead of you to cover your food, if you know you are not ready, you will leave it uncovered, and as a result of that, it can cause foodborne diseases. So children, always make sure you cover your food when you are not ready to eat. Avoid consuming food from doubtful sources. Do not leave leftover canned food in the tins for future use. Yes, if you buy any canned food, when you open the can, make sure you finish the food, or if the food is still remaining, remove it from the can, put it in a plastic container with cover. Put the food inside the refrigerator. Remember, because if you open the can, microorganisms will start to react on the food. And if you leave it inside the can for future use, it can cause foodborne diseases. Ensuring that all preservation equipment, what are the preservation equipment? Refrigerator, deep freezer, these are the preservation equipment. We should always ensure that they are always kept clean. Proper cooking of food before consumption. We should always ensure we cook our food properly before eating. These are the ways of preventing foodborne diseases. Children, I want you to concentrate and watch this video.
I just saw a patient with a serious case of foodborne illness, or food poisoning, as most people call it. Foodborne illness has a wide range of symptoms, and can go from something I ate doesn't agree with me, to being bad enough to cause a serious health problem, or even death. And most foodborne illness symptoms don't present right away. It often takes 24 to 48 hours after eating the contaminated food. But in some instances, the incubation period may be longer. Based on what this patient told me, we aren't sure if it's from a restaurant or from food she prepared at home. That's why I make sure my patients understand that everyone has a role to play in ensuring food safety. Farmers, food companies, transporters, retailers, consumers, and the government. In fact, the FDA issued regulations to carry out the FDA Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011. This was the most sweeping reform of food safety laws in more than 70 years. The new rules require food producers to do more to identify and prevent problems before they might happen. And they set science-based safety standards for growing, harvesting, and packing produce. But sometimes contaminated food still reaches consumers, and the government can't regulate how consumers handle food. That's why we all need to know how to minimize the risk, especially for our patients who are at higher risk. Pregnant women, young children, older adults, and people with immune systems weakened by illness or medical treatment. Being smart about how we shop for food can do a lot to help prevent exposure to the two most common foodborne agents, viruses and bacteria. When it comes to foodborne illness, most of us think of undercooked meats and eggs, but raw fruits and vegetables can pose a risk. So can lunch meats and deli-type salads. There are a few things you can do while at the grocery store. Check the sell-by dates. Use plastic bags for raw meat and poultry, and keep them separated from the other groceries in your cart, and only buy pasteurized dairy products and juice. Food recalls happen when contaminants are discovered in food products. They happen almost every day, and these foods could be almost anything. They range from fresh produce to peanut butter to meat and poultry. It's important to know that there may be nothing you as a consumer can do to make these foods safe. The best thing to do if they are recalled is just throw them out. For a list of current recalls, go to foodsafety.gov. Keeping the family safe is a priority in any household. So here are 4 basic steps to prevent foodborne illness in the home. Wash your hands often with warm or cold water and soap for at least 20 seconds. Before and after handling food, using the bathroom, changing diapers, or handling pets. Cleaning fruits and vegetables is important in order to get rid of soil that may remain on the produce, but there are a variety of other reasons to clean. Bacteria, viruses, or parasites can be on that produce as well, so make sure to rinse all produce thoroughly under cold water to help reduce your risk, and use a vegetable brush, especially on fruits and vegetables that have a skin or rind that won't be eaten. Rinse produce before you cut it, because if there are bacteria, viruses, or other disease-causing microorganisms on that skin, and you cut it with a knife, that knife can carry that pathogen right into the fruit. Clean your cutting boards and other surfaces between preparing raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs, and preparing foods that won't be cooked, like salad veggies, so you don't contaminate the other foods. Or use separate cutting boards. Just as you separate your raw meat from other groceries in your shopping cart to avoid cross-contamination, do the same thing in your refrigerator. Never put raw meat, poultry, seafood, or fresh eggs anywhere where they may contaminate ready-to-eat food. I'm going to put this chicken in the fridge to marinate for a couple hours, and I don't want it to be above or near my veggies, just in case the bag leaks. Some people like to reuse marinades for sauces and gravies, but never reuse marinades that were used with raw meats, unless you bring them to a boil first so that you kill any pathogens. Food is safely cooked when it reaches a high enough internal temperature to kill the harmful pathogens that cause illness. There are different safe temperatures for different foods, so check out the minimum safe cooking temperatures chart at foodsafety.gov.
Children, I hope you've learned more on how to prevent foodborne diseases. Assignment. Why is kitchen cleanliness necessary? 2. Why must the fingernails be cut short? Assignment. Children, make sure you do your assignment. Why is kitchen cleanliness necessary? Why must the fingernails be cut short? My superstars, attempt your quiz on the Edmodo platform, and also make sure you do your assignment. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.